Everybody, it's Justin from Health Made Clear. So today we're going to talk about everybody's favorite diet and the one that's the most mysterious, which is paleo. Apparently, if you eat like a caveman, you're going to live longer, healthier, and happier. We're going to break that claim down, and we're going to talk about myths. We're going to talk about what to do, what not to do as far as following the paleo guidelines. We're going to have a little bit of a history lesson about paleo, why paleo is a thing, and we're going to talk about a very notable practitioner of paleo. The idea with paleo is that between, I think it's 2.5 to 10,000 BC, that those primitive people, they ate what is supposed to be the paleo diet. Is if something was available to ancient peoples before agriculture, then it's okay to have, it follows all the paleo guidelines, and you're good to go from there. What would that include? That would include pretty much any meat, most fruits and vegetables, most fruits, most green vegetables. The idea behind those vegetables is not only are you eating those foods, but you're also supposed to be getting it organic and, certified organic and free range, all of that stuff with it. So a quick rundown of things that are not allowed in the paleo diet would be any kind of grain, anything that was grown, any really like no beans, no bread, no cheese, no chickpeas. Alcohol is technically not allowed, and it shouldn't be because it's not great for your health, but we'll get back to it later. Alcohol probably should based on their tenets. First order of myth-busting business is that we as humans are supposed to be carnivores. And that really doesn't hold up on its face with a basic amount of research. All carnivores are able to produce their own vitamin C. We have to get it from fruits and vegetables. If we don't, we get a disease called scurvy. It's a problem. It's not a good look for us. We don't feel good, and it's corrected with vitamin C. All carnivores, lions, like anything that just solely eats meat, can produce its own vitamin C. We cannot. The next argument for why we should be carnivores is that our teeth are designed to be eating meat because they don't look like a plant eater's teeth. Like, okay, cool. But they also don't look like a lion's teeth. They don't look like a bear's teeth, which are made for like ripping and tearing flesh. We have teeth in the back called molars that are made for crushing. We do have canines. Canines, I guess, are part of what you would have in the dentition of a predator, but we don't fully have the dentition of a predator. We don't fully have the dentition of a quote unquote leaf eater, if you like to watch Land Before Time shows. We have a mixture of both. And then the notion that the food that I get at the supermarket now is the same as the food that ancient people would have had 2.5 million years ago. The fruits and vegetables that we have now look nothing like the fruits and vegetables they would have had access to. A lot of the fruits and vegetables that we have are a product of agriculture, but it doesn't make sense that just because it wasn't available to them that it's not good for us to have. For example, the ancient banana was just full of seeds and probably looked nothing like the one that we have now. Probably had a lot less nutrition and nutrient density in it because it was full of seeds and you weren't eating the seeds. Broccoli and carrots from far less than 2.5 million years ago looked way different, weren't as nutritious. A lot of the things that we'd be getting at the grocery store and eating quote unquote paleo would be nothing like what our ancestors were really eating. And then on alcohol, so paleo says that you can't have alcohol because it's not good for you, and it's not, and they're right, but they're not right for the reason they think. There is proof that humans were eating and drinking alcohol. They were fermenting honey, fruit, and grains from as recent as 10,000 years ago, which is right about when paleo kind of ends. So there was at least a little bit of an overlap. So your paleo caveman may have had a buzz. I don't know, but certainly possible. I do want to talk to one thing here is paleo has been turned kind of into a performance art. And specifically, I want to talk about Brian Johnson, or otherwise known as the Liver King. He was the dude with the big gnarly beard and that gross hat, never wore a shirt and looked purple, running around, barefoot, putting his feet in dirt, eating like bull testicles and like bone marrow and just a bunch of gross stuff. Like it literally just looked like a segment off of Fear Factor, but he was doing it willingly, I guess. He was running on talking about his 9 ancestral tenets, one of them more or less following paleo. Never mind the fact that he was injecting $11,000 worth of steroids into his body every single month. No big deal. So his version of paleo is less about science, except for the steroids, and more about showmanship. He could eat his bull testicles, and scoop out his bone marrow and talk about his nose to tail nutrition stuff, and you thought that if you ate like him, that you could look like him. And it's just not the case, because he looked the way that he did, probably because he ate well, but also because he did a bunch of other things that wouldn't be paleo approved. And his entire goal wasn't just for the lifestyle. His entire goal was to build a massive social media marketing campaign, essentially, and disguise it as him trying to make you healthier. There is a whole thing on the internet about how he had set out to get this giant following as a business proposition, not as health following or a health trend. So keep that in mind. What is allowed in paleo? For the most part, all meats, unless they are processed. So grass-fed meats, fish, chicken, eggs are good because theoretically they could have gone out and picked up an egg. So, quick example, a pork chop would be fine, but deli ham would not be. Even though both meat, one is processed, has nitrate, the one does not. So keep that in mind. Vegetables, for the most part, are non-starchy greens, broccoli, spinach, lettuce, that kind of stuff. And sweet potatoes apparently are fine, but white potatoes are not fine. We'll get to that. It excludes all grains, all of it. That includes oatmeal, even though nobody ever got fat off of oatmeal. All of it. Any kind of grain, anything you could more or less bake with is not allowed. With that, back to the potato part, there are some practitioners who call themselves strict paleo practitioners, and that means that they go a little harder, and potatoes are part of the tuber family. They would not technically be allowed. And there's moderate paleo practitioners who would allow the ingestion of a potato. I think you should be able to have potatoes because they're the #1 food in the satiety index, beating all meat. They're good for you. They're a starchy carb, yes, but starchy carbs aren't bad, and they're a whole food. So it seems to me stupid that they're even discounting those and not allowing those in the first place. So a larger list of things that aren't allowed: wheat, rice, oats, corn, beans, which is annoying because those are really good for you, lentils, soy, peas. Dairy is not allowed. Milk, cheese, and yogurt are not allowed, but some practitioners will use ghee. It's just butter, essentially. I think there's something special with it. I think it's clarified, but I'm not sure. It's too bougie for me. No processed food. This one goes without saying. If it comes out of a box, you probably can't have it. Then anything with artificial flavors, additives, preservatives, you can't have that either. One thing that is really funny to me is that paleo does allow olive oil. I haven't yet to find in the research for this video a mainstream practitioner who doesn't allow olive oil, which is funny because to have olive oil, you have to press the olives between two mats. There's the most primitive way I could think of. Press the olive between two mats, strain it out somehow, and then store it in some way, which is a multi-step process. And I don't think that ancient Neanderthals, in between being chased by the short-faced bear and a saber-toothed tiger, were out there straining olives to get olive oil. So it makes me laugh that olive oil, which is processed, is allowed in paleo, but like cheese is not. I'm glad they're both processed, but one is more processed than the other, I would assume. Something else that it leaves out, and it makes sense that it leaves it out, but I think it leaves a hole, is some people maybe have a hard time eating all of that meat to get their protein requirements in, and paleo would not allow the use of protein shakes because they're obviously highly processed. I mean, you're taking milk, you're pulverizing it into a powder, and then putting it in a tub and putting it on a store shelf so it'll last forever. It makes sense that it's not allowed, but the people who can't do as much meat or want to back away from meat for some reason, protein powders are a great replacement for protein, and protein is still important. No matter what diet you're doing, you need to have protein. 0.7 grams per pound of body weight or 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight is a great place to start. If you're overweight or have a high BMI, you can do those numbers at your target body weight or an ideal body weight. You still need to be getting protein. So kind of real talk with the paleo diet. Most of the health benefits from paleo come from cutting out highly processed, hyperpalatable food, and not because you're eating this caveman type diet. If you just, again, don't eat like an asshole, you'll have most of these health benefits, if not all of them. You could not follow paleo, eat whole foods, including oats and avocado oil and those kind of things that would be paleo no-nos, and deli ham, for example. And I do not think there would be much of a change in any of your biomarkers one way or the other if you were to do strict keto or, just this not eat like an idiot type diet. So paleo is not magic. There's nothing inherently magical about paleo. It does not make you lose weight through a special way. Like all diets, it creates a calorie deficit. And the way that paleo does it is it makes you stay away from hyper palatable, highly processed foods, and it makes you eat unprocessed, super filling foods. And because you're full for longer, you just tend to eat less. And it's a little bit restrictive, so you can't just go and snack. But again, it creates a calorie deficit through manipulation of what food you can and can't eat. The best diet, I'm going to give you a secret here, is the one that you're going to stick to. And it doesn't matter what one it is, but whatever you can stick to that will create a calorie deficit is the one that you should eat, and that is the best diet for you. The diet that I eat is probably not the same diet that you should be eating because we're different people. We have different things going on. Consistency is key here. So, should you go on paleo? Maybe, maybe not. If you do, great. Don't get lost in the dogma. Eat the whole foods and question the hype. If somebody's running around espousing all the benefits of a certain diet, take a step back, ask what they're selling, all that kind of stuff. Brian Johnson was selling all of his supplements, ironically, eating like a caveman, but then he's selling you desiccated liver tablets. I don't know when Caveman got to eat a desiccated liver tablet. Didn't make any sense to me. I'm like deer lung and cow lung and all this BS that people would send me. On that note, found this helpful. If you learned something, like, subscribe. Let me know what other myths you want busted as far as health goes. This doesn't have to just be dieting or fitness. I'm a nurse practitioner overall, or after all. I like helping people with a lot of their health concerns. But like and comment.